Is it time? Yeah, it's time. Welcome to the True Craft Podcast. I am your host, Chris Farman, and I'm joined by co-host, Katie Noel. This time around, we are all about one thing: killer conversations with close friends about the state of craft. Oh, it's going to be good. I hope to open the box on fresh topics while honoring the path that got us here. Let's do it. And we're back for a new episode of a new and exciting episode. Not just new, a new and exciting episode of the True Craft Podcast. Today we have, of course, the one and only Katie Noel, the one and only co-host of the podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And our guest today is Gabi Blanco, who is not a stranger to our podcast and not a stranger to SBS. She is the co-founder of Buckstin Brewing in Nederland, Texas. Mm-hmm. Welcome, Gabi.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. Thanks for being here.
Of course. What is happening in Nederland, Texas?
Nederland is going wonderful. I mean, it's packed to the max every night. We're open 7 days a week, and our growth for the Buckstin plan has been, sped up from the original conversation that you and I probably had, 2-3 years ago when we first went with y'all about, we have a 5-year plan or something. We're just kind of bursting at the seams still. So we are pushing everything in Nederland to its absolute capacity until we open up our larger location.
Nice. Now, would you say some of your success or majority of your success in Nederland is due to, would we call it, how many breweries are there? Is it a beer desert and you guys are filling this just amazing need, or is it the experience that people are getting?
It's definitely the experience. We're not a total beer desert. We're definitely behind the rest of the state for cities of the size that we have. But, Nederland's a very small town. We have one brewery, that's us. Port Neches, a town right next to us, also a small town. I'm talking like 17,000 people, pretty small. They have a brewery over there too. But I think it's more of like a pizza desert, like not having like pizza restaurants and everything. So, we just happen to be this pizza restaurant that makes incredible beer according to, people that know us for food. But Beaumont as well, Beaumont, the larger city that we're opening in, that's a much bigger area. There's about 170,000 people. So it's about 10 times the population of our current city. And they don't have a brewery really. I mean, we have like a small one out here in Beaumont. They had a larger one that had some financial troubles and unfortunately had to close down this last year. So we'll definitely be filling both of those needs in Beaumont, one for the brewery and one for another pizza restaurant.
That's awesome. How far is Beaumont from Nederland?
About 15-20 miles.
Okay. So that's good geographic distance. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of food at your brewery. Mm-hmm. I've been talking about this forever, and there's going to be a video recording coming out pretty soon of me talking about a unique collab situation that I saw when I was out with my kids the other day. But let's talk about, was food always part of the plan for you guys, or?
Yes.
It was food first or beer first?
Beer, I mean, of course the plan was always a brewery, but when we said the brewery, I mean, they never existed without each other. Yep. We always knew that it wasn't going to be like snacky food or something. It's going to be as much food as we can put out. You have to have those two things. We've seen too many, even when we started making this business plan, 8 years ago, really, you see too many of them fail even back then when like you could pretty much do everything wrong and still be successful. But right. Even back then, what were your most successful ones? The ones that never, ever failed were the ones that had consistent kitchens, not a food truck that showed up sometimes, not, a guest kitchen that was there when they felt like it, a true blue kitchen that you owned and was part of your brewery as well. So yeah, those two were always together. It was always part of the plan.
Yeah. That's great. You know, I encounter some like very blue moon because I used to be in your camp as well.
Mhm.
Kitchen run by the founders, nothing co-branded, nothing, you know, nothing to dilute either brand. Like, so if you bring in like a popular barbecue or popular taco place and they're branded for the food, you're branded for the beer, there's going to be some dilution there. Or if you have a consistent food truck, there's just going to be issues with that. Every once in a while, I'm just proven very wrong, rarely, that the food truck model doesn't work. And those breweries have a very, very unique profile, right? The profile is they have built such a immersive experience, an inclusive experience, a creative culture to the point where they're gonna do anywhere from 1,200 to $4,000 on a Monday through Thursday just in beer sales.
Mhm.
Those kind of beer sales will bring food sales, right? So of course the food trucks are going to be happy, and of course the food trucks are gonna show up and not flake on you and so on. But there are such few beer tap rooms only that are pulling those numbers these days,
Okay.
right? You're going to pull those numbers if you have a kitchen, if you have food, a reason for people to stay. So I'm 90% still in your camp that the brewery needs to own and operate the kitchen, regardless of whether that's what they set out to do.
Mhm.
I'm 10% in the, okay, prove me wrong. And some people just blow me away. I'm just like, and
Yeah.
that's fine. You know, if you've created that and you're selling that much beer that you know, any food you cycle in and out is just a bonus, then good for you. Keep doing what
Yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah, because I mean, how can people continue drinking the beer if they don't have anything to eat, nothing to snack on? And I mean, just I can talk about this forever. And there's so many things that it ties into as well. But one of the huge things that I didn't even realize that is a great thing that I've never had to deal with is the ticket prices, like that it's all under one thing. You know, yes, the customer doesn't mind going to the food truck and spending that much, but you know, they also are expected to tip over at the food truck. I can't guarantee consistency with that, but all of my taproom bartenders, they don't get any of that tip, even though they're the ones that's picking them up, you know, picking up the plates afterwards, cleaning up their mess from the food that they got no tip on. So
Right.
even though they have to do very little work, it makes our ticket numbers so much higher. So when they hit that basic, you know, 20, 25%, 30% on all the pretty much every ticket that they get, they're getting a huge, huge boost in their overall tips.
I hadn't
Right.
thought about that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The
Because I mean, the
impact on your
customer
staff.
doesn't mind spending the money. You know, our pizzas aren't cheap, but they're not food truck prices. Like food truck prices are pretty crazy.
Right. Right. There, you know, that's a friction point, right? That's what I call a friction point. If the customer has to go out and use another service and then tip there, it most people don't care, but it does stick in people's mind that
Yeah.
you spent this amount on the amount of food. And I agree with you. I agree with you, Gabby. I haven't said this publicly until now, but
Mhm.
I think food truck prices are, can I say fuck on this podcast, Katie? I think they're fucking insane.
They are. And I get that, like, you have to pay a premium. We have to pay a premium right now for our crust to be par pressed for us before it gets there because we're functioning out of a food truck size. We're 8 foot by 16 foot. I do not have space to do dough ball management, you know, cycling it in and out, of freezing it, proofing it, all of these things, and have a press and get it in my oven. So I'm paying right now what I have to pay over $2 a crust. Whereas when I'm making my own dough balls in Beaumont, it's down to 29 cents.
Yep.
That's just off the top. Also, we're not, you know, we're not dealing with anything raw in our kitchen. Meats are going to be premium meats that are cooked before they arrive to us because it is way too small of a kitchen to be worried about like cross contamination like that. So yes, in a food truck, you are paying a premium for those ingredients, but also most food trucks have some kind of prep kitchen somewhere or prep warehouse somewhere that you'd think that they could be getting like little better prices on certain things before they put it in the truck
Right.
and to you. But I mean, it's just expensive. Everything's
Look,
expensive.
When
full
your
disclosure. Go ahead, Katie.
when your new tap rooms open, will you
Mhm.
stop outsourcing that cost for those dough balls to be handled?
Yes,
And you'll
absolutely.
just
That's
do
going to
it and
be
transfer them yourself?
massive money.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's nice. I was like,
Yeah,
that's
we'll have
like a
like,
good idea.
1 or 2 days a week. That's like dough ball making days. And on deliveries over to the Nederland tap room, we'll be having the dough management because we won't need, I mean, we're going to be able to expand the kitchen over there. We just, all of that cooler space that we're currently using for other stuff, it's going to be over in the Beaumont locations. So we can definitely get our costs, I mean, immediately get our costs down massively.
The impact on your profitability there per pizza is going to be
just the crust. Yeah,
profound.
just on the crust. I cannot wait. That's going to be so, so helpful.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. I'm going to go back to my pain point with food trucks because I feel like I really poo-pooed on them hard, and they do serve a very good purpose. But the reason why I have such, I'm so sensitive about food trucks is when you have a family of 5, when you have 3 children and you go to like a food truck, like rally party, it's brutal. Somebody wants pizza. Somebody wants burgers. Somebody wants tacos. Somebody wants ice cream. You go get it all, and then they want the churro. And all of a sudden you've run to all these trucks and you're just like, oh man, this was really bad. So we've stopped going. We're not at the 8. We're not at the family size to do food truck. I will visit a food truck if I'm at a brewery and that's all they have because I need something to snack on while I'm drinking. But back to 16 by 8 in the kitchen. That's 128 square feet. And you've been operating for how many years out of this?
4.5.
4.5 years at 128 square feet.
Yeah.
I hope the listeners are jealous because that's a cubby. I guess it is a food truck. It's a food truck in the building.
Yeah, that's exactly what I designed it off of. Make it as efficient as you can. Because we also have a pass-through window, just like a food truck would. 3-compartment sink, those things that you're required to have in a kitchen. A little bit of shelving, but I mean, you store as much ahead of things as you can, like on top of things as you can, and get as creative as you can vertically.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm laughing here, realizing that that's probably, for those who don't know, I live in a van, and I'm laughing here, realizing that that's probably about the same amount of space I'm working with here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep. And we put 3 people in the kitchen, and then we have 1 like flex worker. When we're really busy, we have 4 people doing it. But I mean, the space in between like the end of the prep line and the cooler and sink that's behind it is barely 3 feet, like barely 3 feet. There's no crossing over each other. Like everyone has to really be a master of each of their spaces that they're in. And then we have like 1 flex person that kind of helps like at the end, like getting it in boxes or putting it in the warmer if it's a to-go order, getting the tickets there, ringing the bell, and helping run the food as well.
What was this, like you were like a conscious decision you made to have this space, or was this like you were kind of put in a corner and this was what worked for your situation? Like, how'd you find yourself here, and how do you feel about it from day one versus now?
Yeah, so I started working in hospitality when I was 15. So like this has always been my life. I've had these other jobs and I've gone to college and I've gotten these degrees and I've lived all these places, but like I would always come back to hospitality because I love it. I'm like addicted to this, restaurant life. And whenever we were designing it, of course, like you have in your business plan, you make a fake floor plan, but you're going to pick this like perfect rectangle or like something that makes sense. But we also always knew that we wanted to be located in downtown Nederland's like historic district. Nederland obviously is how you say like the Netherlands in Dutch. We're a little Dutch settlement. It's adorable on this old street in the middle of Texas. I mean, we're right here in like the armpit of Texas, like Louisiana and Texas border and the coast. We have a little windmill. It's a little wooden shoes. There's Dutch families that are still here. So we always wanted to be located there. And then when a building did come available, which never ever happens, you're having to deal with what's already there. So it's 25 foot across and 125 foot deep. So it's the longest, skinniest rectangle building that you can ever imagine. Like an old town. Yep. Think of any little, downtown of any old city in the United States. So whenever we start developing that, we're like, okay, so we really got to work with being in a long skinny rectangle, and then totally had to adjust the kitchen to that. And then also we bought used ovens and they go from left to right, even though it doesn't really like make sense for us. Like, you just have to like stand there. I always stand in the space and I get painter's tape and map it out. You know, of course, map it on the computer first, but then map it out when you're standing there and act like, okay, an order came in. Where would I like to grab that ticket from? Then I'll like, you know, map out where I want the little printer, and then I walk the order, and I just like keep walking through it and think of all the issues that I could run across from my experience in kitchens. And then you kind of
So
just like
your hospitality experience is not just front of the house, it's back of the house?
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah, I've done both. It actually I mean, of course you have an understanding for what goes on in the kitchen, but I didn't go back of the house until I was in college. I worked at a country club that I loved that they did this. The manager made every bartender and every server work one kitchen shift a week.
Wow.
That was so nice because it created such a camaraderie between the kitchen and the front of house, because they can finally fully understand the issues that they're complaining about. Oh, well, the kitchen's doing this, or the floor is doing this. Like, okay, no, like y'all two can't get along. Like now you're gonna work each other's jobs. And
That's really
That's
smart.
I
that's
loved
brilliant.
that. Isn't that smart? I know.
Very.
So smart. So that really made me, and I thought I knew so much about kitchens. I'd been working at, you know, a restaurant for so long and had been in management and everything like throughout college, but I really did not understand or appreciate it until it was my actual shift.
What's your best-selling pizza?
Um, cheese and pepperoni will always be your number ones, but our sellingest pizza of one that's like one of the ones that we're known for, it's called Sweet Heat. And so it's marinara base, like our marinara with sriracha, our 5 cheese blend, pepperoni, pesto before the oven, and then after the oven is hot honey on top.
Oh yeah.
I just had a
I love
pizza
it.
with hot honey at a brewery last weekend for the first time, and I was like, it was really good.
It elevates it a lot. And that's one of our day one pizzas too. That was one of the first pizzas that we had really like worked out in our heads that I really wanted on the menu.
Hot honey is going to be the ingredient of 2024, if it already isn't. I feel like
Yeah, I feel like once we opened, like I started seeing it everywhere on pizzas. And then they had some like availability issues. Mike's Hot Honey, like that was always the brand name, but now a lot of other companies make like good, consistent hot honey.
yeah.
And now we just do it in house now. I have an amazing chef that's taken over my kitchen stuff. Crystal Lundy, she used to own her own restaurant and everything too. I've always been a fan of like her stuff, but so many of our things, not only for cost, like just consistency, we're producing in house now. So she's infusing her own honey and, you know, kind of revamping a lot of the sauces that we've always made a certain way before.
Yeah.
What do you think some of the keys of success have been having this kind of model for your kitchen?
Making each position so simple, you know, like don't ask. I'd rather spend more money on an impinger oven. So impinger oven is like a conveyor belt. So it's essentially, and inside the oven, it's essentially like a giant air fryer. So it has a ton of air jets on both sides and super high heat. But yes, of course, my favorite style of pizza is like a lovely Neapolitan style, and like, you know, a person there with cornmeal on the bottom of a pizza peel, finding that hot spot of the oven. But that's a lifelong passion. They know, they can just know the temperature by putting their hand right there. Don't make it harder on yourself. Don't be this brick oven pizza or this, you know, wood fired pizza. Just make it simple. Get an impinger oven, and it's timed 5 minutes from beginning to end at 500 degrees. So all I need my person to do is to prepare this pizza, and I have everything lined out exactly in the order that you could ever need it. I have a huge chart of every single pizza color coded by the order that it goes in, lined up with where the buckets are. So if it's their first day on the job and they see the name of the pizza and they're like, okay, we do this. And then you grab the pizza and put it at the end of the oven, goes across the conveyor, comes out, cut it, and they don't have to think about it anymore after that. So some of them have toppings like at the end. And there's another chart down at the end of it too. So just simplify it. Don't ask a lot of the people that are working the kitchen, because it really does attract like a better worker. Like it's so nice that it's nonverbal communication in the kitchen. They do not have to speak to each other because everyone knows exactly what their duties are. So my kitchen workers love it because they just come in and they put their AirPods in and listen to a podcast, or they have like a Netflix show playing in the background, and they can perfectly execute their job without ever having to talk or like cross over the person next to them.
I'm smiling because you talking about the processes. Number one, makes me smile. Number two, speaks to the success that you guys have had. And we had a guest, Philip Maple, who's opening up a pizza brewery, sourdough pizza place in a few months, who is going to do the exact same thing. He wants to go in and make the batch dough, and then he's going to have the process laid out for every other step: how to ball the dough, how to proof the dough, and then, of course, when the dough's ready, how to make the pizzas.
Yep, systems in place.
I asked him, I was like, "Are you going to get the cool brick oven wood fired pizza?" He's like, "Hell no." He's like, "Dude,
I like this guy. He knows what he's talking about." Yeah.
He's like, "Hell no." He goes, "I need a conveyor. I need a consistent heat stream." And like you said, it literally takes a PhD in brick oven pizza to know how to run one of those things.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we pay our kitchen well, right? Like our minimum wage for training is $15 an hour. And we don't live in an area that does that. Like they are very much $8 everywhere around here. We have health insurance. We have benefits. We have 401k with matching from anyone. You don't have to be full time. But also when your job is that simple, and I don't care if you're like listening to your show and stuff and you're putting out the product perfectly, like why would I mess that up and go get, you know, a $200,000 oven to also expect that they're going to be doing that job for $15 an hour.
Right.
I mean, and we pay more than most people. But other places, they're probably like, you know, thinking they're just going to find somebody off the street and like, no, you have to like love this. Like you have to like love the passion of, you know, finding the hot spots in the oven and all that. And
I mean, even heating it up to the right temp.
yeah.
And maintaining it for 8 hours.
Yep. And you have to keep feeding the wood and everything. There's no backup, you know, if it's not working that day, what are you going to do?
Right. Right. So it sounds to me, and Justin's your husband and co-founder, there was never a struggle. It was always understood from the beginning you were going to have food and beer.
It's so funny though, because when he was working on the business side, even though I'm the one who's worked in the kitchens and I've done all of this, I get the fear. I get why so many brewery owners and, you know, bar owners and stuff don't do food, because it's very intimidating if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
Seems like, you know, this foreign concept that like, oh, I can never be successful. I've never worked in a kitchen before. I don't know how to cook. Like you don't have to know how to cook to make pizzas. Like pick whatever you want to do and just be the best at it. So he was the one that put it in the business plan, and we had never really discussed it. We had always said like, you know, yeah, breweries with food, they do better and everything. And then I see it, he had added it to the business plan one day and I was like, oh, like we're doing a full kitchen. Like, okay, yeah, let me get my head there again. And he was the one that really pushed me back into having to think kitchen minded. But like, once I reminded myself, I'm like, you can do this. Like you can do anything. Like you got this. It made it really simple, like really simple. It was intimidating, but once I staffed that like the week before, because I was like, it's simple. I can jump back there, which I do, you know, time to time, if there's ever anything. I always want it to be a job where like, if kitchen doesn't show up, a bartender can jump back there. Anyone can jump back there and help them.
Yeah.
And they have sometimes.
So let's talk about staffing for a second and compare your market to, let's say, Atlanta, Seattle, LA, where you have these bustling food scenes, you have more competition, more minimum, higher pay, more transient workers. What would you say to somebody in one of those major markets on overcoming the fear of staffing?
I mean, this is hard because I guess I'm not really. I don't want to sound like I'm speaking from a place of privilege, because I have taken massive, massive risks in what I've done for my staff, but also with, you know, these great hiring problems that everyone complains about. To this day, we still have a waiting list. We have never publicly posted for a job. We still have a waiting list of people that want to work for us. We have virtually no turnover unless somebody like moves away. I chose at multiple times, you know, against the advice of like y'all and stuff of like, hey, you're spending too much on this. And I'm like, listen, if I invest this in my employees now, the type of people that it attracts and the type of people that make this business what it is, I'm only successful because of the people that work for me. Yeah. And like, especially during COVID and everything, like choosing to do what I did at that time, if they wanted to lay off, they could have a layoff. But like, we're all going to be there getting creative as much as we can, because in Texas, they just grouped us in with bars, even though we had a full kitchen from the beginning. So we were shut down for 5 months when we had only been open for 3 months, and just getting creative every day, trying to serve out our front window, like making pizza kits. We would put everything in little bags so people could take it home to their kids and they can make their own pizzas at home. Like we did everything that we could. And that, I kept all my employees through that as well, but it doesn't hurt that they make good money because we have food.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the ones that have moved away, so like Houston's our next closest large city to here. It's about 80 miles away, so about an hour and a half to get there. We've had people that go work at like a brewery over there, and they're like, I need a second job. Like, we don't have food here. It's just beer. It's not even with their minimum wage, with their tips, they start them at like $10 an hour plus tips, and they were making nowhere near what they were making over here having food.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like your success or your recommendation to somebody in a larger market or smaller market or wherever is you've got to take care of your people, and the people will take care of you.
Always with larger cities like that. Yes, it is more transient people. And also those transient people say they're going to live in LA for their whole life and always work in hospitality. They're always going to go to the newest one. They want to get those first 2-week tips. They want that, grand opening money. But with us, it's like, we're having to really vet these people really well in Beaumont, because I'm like, if you come on for my grand opening, like, we're building loyalty now. Like, we're building as you part of everything that we do with Buckstin and with craft beer and the restaurant world. I always say it's as big or as small as you want to take it. So, you have some interest in graphic design or photography or something, there's always different facets of this like ever-changing market that we're in that they can explore. But if you want to stay with this company, I'm going to invest in you. And I expect y'all to invest your best in me as well.
Okay.
Culture.
Definitely.
It always comes back to culture, Chris.
Yeah, and I would say we're investing a lot, us personally right now, in culture. We're investing a ton in building the right culture, building the right team. So I think it's an evolving process. So I don't think you ever cross the finish line of team building and team culture. It's just an evolving.
I'm lucky for, the benefits that I get to reap now. Like, today I wanted to work from home until I did this podcast, because I was like, we open up at 3:00 over there. And I'm like, it's going to be loud and everything. And I text a couple of my managers, like, do y'all need anything from me today? I'm going to go out to the Beaumont side after this. And they're, they do everything that they can to make my life easier. And they're like, no,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
We've got everything. And when I was making those decisions to bring some of those people on board, that was the most terrifying shit of my life. Like, money that I knew that we did not have. I knew that we didn't have it for like certain positions of people that we wanted to bring on. But the fact that they were even willing to leave their jobs to come work for me when we're this like, young brewery spoke volumes. Like, if they believe in me enough, like, I have to believe that this is going to pay off enough. And also, we owe it to Buckstin. Buckstin is way bigger than me and Justin now. It's a sum of all of its parts. And if we're going to let it get as big as it should get, we have to bring the right people on board to help it grow. So those were some of the most terrifying times, is some of those like large salary roles. Because this is before me and Justin are even taking a salary. We're like barely paying our bills, like just doing the best that we could. But it mattered more to me to invest it in others, and it's absolutely paid off.
Nice. So what I'm hearing is a brewery that's considering food. You're saying just do it.
Oh, just do it. And like, during pandemic with Arrived, the software that we use, they're brew pub specific, and they invest so much in like helping breweries and all of that. I would do some like podcasts and stuff with them too, and share. I was like, y'all want like a surefire plan? I'll not only give you the layout, I gave them like the shopping list too. You could build an entire kitchen for under $20,000. And if you can't, don't tell me you don't have space or whatever. This is no fryer. So we're running all of these appetizers and everything through there. So that avoids having to have a grease trap, big things that you'd have to work with for the city. If you have a 3-compartment sink, that's it. We just need basic plumbing.
No hood.
Well, we added a hood It depends on the city about the hood.
Right.
We added a hood because our pizza ovens were so old when we first got them, and the heat was unmanageable. It was more like pulling the heat out than the smoke. Under $20,000, you can have a very profitable kitchen.
I think you're going to be getting some emails and phone calls with that sort of
I'll find. I mean, I have it all typed up somewhere. I was sharing
statement.
it with everyone during pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, we had another client at the time in LA doing the same thing. She was out evangelizing her pizza kitchen and evangelizing how good and it definitely helped her through the whole scenario.
Yeah.
All right, so let me run a situation by you and tell me how you would handle this. So you're a tap room, you don't have food, and you're in a building, you're in a strip center, you have one of the units, the unit right next to you is a restaurant. They stop paying their rent, they go out of business. You have an expansion planned. Like your tap room only right now is so busy that you've got to expand this somewhere else, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do a tap room only. As soon as the restaurant closes, do you A, talk to the landlord, take that space over and run the kitchen, or do you B, go to do your original expansion plan of a second tap room only, knowing you can
build a kitchen you want and whatever?
No, the second one's going to be like the first location, no kitchen.
Still just a tap room.
Yeah.
We're at like 60-40 food.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. People will always want to eat. Always. A person that's going to come have 2 beers in your tap room will have 4 if you offered food. So you're not only doubling your beer, you're then getting your profit margin on your food. I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer. You know the answer.
I do.
Oh.
So you move in next door.
It's intimidating. I get that it's intimidating. It is scary if you do not have food experience to do it, but create that doesn't need experience. Like food, we always say this, with beer, they're like, oh, it's an art. No, it's not. It's 100% a science. And it's always science, but with food too, the way that you balance salt, fat, acid, heat, that one's gotten popular, that book that they've written and everything. There are very fundamental things that go well together. And if we didn't choose pizza, I would have chosen something else and just been the best at it. I would have done, the trend now with smash burgers or something. If I'm going to do a burger, just pick the one thing and be perfect at it. If you were going to do sandwiches, cool, I'm going to pick some kind of unique sandwich or some unique bread that sets me apart and just be the best at that. Don't complicate your menu. Every single menu item and any ingredient that we have needs to be on at least 3 items that we offer. Except whenever we offer during Lent, we have a huge Catholic population here. So we do a seafood-based pizza every year, like crawfish tails, because we're down here where we have crawfish, or a shrimp Alfredo pizza or something like that we offer every day during Lent. But it makes sense though. Like the numbers like line up to carry that one ingredient, but then people add it to all these other stuff too. So
yeah,
that's the only kind of like limited edition stuff that we offer.
So to somebody who you've convinced, okay, fine, Gabi, I hear you, good idea, but I don't know where to start. Like to somebody who doesn't have your background, which clearly has benefited you, like what would you recommend to somebody listening?
So if they don't have an area at all that they think currently that they can turn into a kitchen, start with a contractor. Your contractor should be able to tell you the city requirements. Certain cities are going to be crazy and you need a vent hood, you need all of that because that's going to determine your cost. And if it's just not feasible, it's just not feasible. But there are so many different types of things now that can like bypass these city ordinances, like ovens that have their own hood in it, enclosed fryers that have their own Ansel system. So the technology has come so far that you don't have to just listen to the city inspector anymore. You can show them like the specs of this and be like, no, but look, like we can do it like this instead of that, because that'll be the difference in like $100,000 in a little tiny kitchen. If we had a crazy city that was like, you need an Ansel system and a vent hood and all of that. But starting with the contractor, seeing if he knows about the inspectors, and then just seeing how much it would cost you to get that sink ran, that drain line, seeing if they require you to have a grease trap and whatnot, and then price all the equipment.
Yeah, I love it. That's exactly what I would have recommended.
Yeah.
That's it.
Don't worry about the staffing. Like, it will come.
Staffing
Make
will
it
come. You
simple.
probably
Have
ought to think
a
about.
have a simple menu.
Yeah.
Food reps are very motivated. They know that you can go with any other company at any given time. A lot of the times they'll help you with that too. Like, a lot of food companies also have like a sister company that does equipment. They usually have like pizza chefs that will come in and make your whole menu for you. They'll print your menus for you. They'll teach you how to make the pizza. They'll help you get staffed. Like, they want you to succeed. Like, that's how they make their money. So there's
Big
a
time.
lot of very, not even cheap, free help that you get from these people.
So I'm a huge fan and proponent of the simple menu and the reusing the items and so on and so forth. How many pizzas do you offer? How many menu items do you all have?
So we have about 10 appetizers. We have 25-ish pizzas, like specialty pizzas. Of course, the build your own section, where on that we have probably 20 different proteins. And well, we have a $3 section and $1.50 section. But altogether, maybe 40 things altogether with the sauces, because we do swirls on the pizza at the end of it. So all the different sauces. Then we have boneless chicken wings, because those do great in an oven. Giant pretzels with beer cheese that we make with our beer cheese. And then a handful of desserts that also do great in the oven.
25 specialty pizzas seems like a lot.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised the way that you could work this. I mean, 25 pizzas that are listed out on their own, you know, that's including like a pepperoni.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Double the pepperoni. Well, that's under the same one. The meat machine, you know, the one that has all the meats.
Yep.
The sweet heat. Then we have one that's like a combo of the both of those that has like the pesto and the hot honey with all the meats on it as well. We have some weird pizzas. Like we have our Hawaiian pizza, but it's like a mango habanero base with like ham and pineapple and all of that on it. We have like, y'all know gochujang sauce. So we have one called gochujang, and it's our gochujang wing sauce base with like grilled chicken, bell peppers, like all of this stuff. So, and we have like a Mexican pizza. A lot of these I came up with some of the ones that are really popular now, when I was pregnant and I had COVID and I had these fever dreams about the Taco Bell Mexican pizza. And I was like, I need to make one. It was that pizza and this other pizza that was like fried steak fingers and gravy. We put them both on the menu. But these pizzas, like, if you're craving pizza, our Mexican one is called Adios Amigo. It's like refried beans based. If you're craving pizza, it's not going to hit the spot. But if you're craving like nasty drive-through tacos, it's going to hit the spot. So has like chips and stuff on it, ground beef, taco sauce, enchilada sauce, and it's a refried bean base.
Whoa. Please tell me you have a pizza called Fever Dream in honor of yourself during.
No, I don't.
Now you.
No, she said she was having fever dreams.
I know, but I was like,
I know, but I need to name a pizza that actually, that's a good beer name. Let me put it on the list.
That would be so funny.
Yes. Oh my God. Let me put it on the list.
That's
y'all. This is my list of beer name ideas.
Wow.
Every time I have an idea for something, I put it on this list.
That's long.
For all the listeners, that was a 15 scroll on the iPhone. On the iPhone, what looks to be like the iPhone Pro, big one.
It's a big one.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I really got to make it down there to you guys. I'm like, if somebody wasn't hungry listening to this podcast, they are now.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Awesome.
I hope I've done a good job convincing all y'all to do a kitchen.
What's your favorite pizza that you offer?
Honestly, it's not on the menu. I just call it's a pizza that I make every time I'm really hungover. And it just has a ton of salt in it, but we call it the salty boy. Instead of a sauce base, I put garlic parmesan wing sauce.
Nice.
Then I do grilled chicken and pepperoni, because you want to put your large proteins underneath the cheese so that they don't roll around in the oven, in an Impinger oven. So you put it underneath the cheese. Then on top, I put onions, mushrooms, bell peppers. And then after the oven, I get cold pesto and I put a swirl of pesto over the top. And it'll cure your hangover in like 2 seconds.
It sounds pretty freaking good.
It's very, very good.
All right.
Very garlicky.
Sorry, Chris.
So-
I'm done working for the day. I'm gonna go get a pizza now.
Oh, you're done.
We hardly ever eat the pizza because you always smell like the pizza, so it feels like you're eating it all the time. But we like it whenever we do.
Have you heard of the franchise Pizza Cat?
I don't think so.
I hadn't either until they opened one in Jacksonville Beach, and like it's the weird name. They have weird pizzas, right? And they're known for their weird. It's a to-go, place only, delivery only.
Huh.
Check out their menu. It's interesting. It's interesting. We haven't tried one of their pizzas yet, but I want to. The kids are pretty basic, right? And my wife and I aren't sprinting to pizza, but once they get a little bit more adventurous, we will. But they have locations in many cities. I think it's a franchise. It's a franchise deal.
How interesting.
Pizza, chicken, steamed bagel sandwiches, and more. Oh
Pizza
yeah,
Cat.
I like it.
Awesome.
I'm gonna check
All
them
right.
out.
So Gabi, to wrap up,
Yeah.
I have a feeling people are going to contact you after listening to this episode. I hope they do.
Sure.
Where can they reach you and where can they learn more about Buckstin?
They can go to buckstinbrewing.com and like fill out contact there. But if they just want to email me directly, it's gab@buckstinbrewing.com. BUCKSTIN. GAB is the first part of it. But yeah, we love this community. Like anyone in craft beer, we have a Pilsner that we love from Austin and email the brewer, and 2 days later he sends us the whole recipe and anything. This camaraderie of like sharing everything. I want every brewery to be as successful as us, because this is one industry that we have proven the more breweries there are, the more successful everyone is. So I want this love to continue, and all of the breweries that I have loved that have sadly closed down in the last few years in Houston, it's all ones that did not have food. There's not a single one that I know of in the 200-mile radius around me did not have food.
Yeah.
We want to eat with our beer.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard it from the source, folks. You've heard it from the source. Now contact Gabi or go open a kitchen or do something. Okay. Thank you so much, Gabi.
I'll help y'all.
Thank you so much. It's always good to talk to you and good to see you.
Yes.
Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to y'all later.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the True Craft Podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you are just dying to know what Chris and I look like, you can head over to YouTube for a video recording of the show. Links to cool information about our guests and other fun facts can be found in the show notes. This podcast is sponsored by Small Batch Standard, the premier financial agency built to serve the craft brewing industry. We help craft breweries grow profits through outsourced accounting, tax compliance, and growth consulting. Visit sbstandard.com today to learn more and request a discovery call.